reading sessions, I was hand reading the villain's range all 3 times, and I was unsuccessful because I just had those pre-flop ranges just too narrow on days 42, 43, and 44. So now for day 45 of 66 days, we're going to do the villain's range again, and once again, the goal is to accurately assess the villain's range pre-flop all the way through the river and actually have a successful hand reading this time. 3 failures in the past ones. Sure, we learned a lot. We hand read well, like we were reading the situation well, understanding the opponent well, but in the end, it just feels kind of hollow when you unsuccessfully hand read and their hand ends up not being in the range at all, or not even in to begin with, you know? So we're looking today, you can see on the screen in front of you, we've got the merge network, hands that went to showdown, and hands where I called pre-flop 2-bet. Now, in the cutoff, not much going on. We already hand read this one a while ago. Let's take a look at the bootin' here. It's already sorted by turn actions, but you could see this is check, bet, check, and then I don't like all these checks on the rivers. I want to see at least 3 streets of action, not 2 streets. But this hand seems actually kind of promising. A call, a check, and then I decide to bet. So I'm on the button. If I bet the river, that means I'm betting in position at least. Maybe I am betting because he checked, and I could be bluffing here. But the goal is, you know, to hand read the villain's range in this one. If I bet, that means he called, so he has something worth calling. So let's take a look at this hand. See who my villain is. If we look around at the table first, we got, of course, BigtheBig under the gun, captaintom, super loose passive, loose aggressive, slightly aggressive, but loose guy, loose aggressive right here, and then very loose passive. So don't know who it's going to be, but because we called pre-flop, I'm assuming it's going to be 1, 2, or 3 right here. Who opens? Some BigtheBig under the gun action. Folding, and then it comes to us, we just call, we get a call 3-way, and then a fold. Let's see who our opponent ends up being. Okay, it is BigtheBig for sure. Okay. Good. So first off, BigtheBig opens. Gotta whip out the split suit template, of course. 875-39040. Versus BigtheBig in UTG. He opens, we button call, SB calls, and then whatever happens after this. Good. So, first off, we want to understand our opponent, right? He is a very loose, aggressive player. Let's see what he tends to raise first in early position right here. EP 24%. So he has a pretty wide range. It's actually lower. I'm sorry, not lower. It's actually greater than the MP range, which means he treats EP as kind of the occasional steal position right here. Maybe he likes to target players who fold a lot, although he only folds the steals 58 and 66. They actually don't fold that often. It's not a great hand to steal with, or not a great hand, not a great spot to steal with under the gun versus these. Let's say, we could just take a look. Let's say this was the big blind, folding 75 and folding 100% of the time. That would be a good time to make a steal from under the gun. Not necessarily a good time, but probably a better opportunity to steal when you get foldy blinds, you know. So he is opening 24% of the time. So let's try to build a 2-betting range, roughly 24. We'll start at 25. I don't know that he's actually raising those to start with. Maybe not 8-6, maybe not 10-9 off. Let's give him every suited ace. We'll cap the offsuit at ace-9 off and greater. I'm down with that right there. Yep, all the broadways, I'm good with him opening there. King 8 suited, possibly down to King 7 soon. Let's give him a couple of suited kings. I'm not going to go all the way to the deuce. We'll go to 9-7, not the 8-6. We'll cut it off at 6-5. We're looking at 25%. Every pocket pair, of course, he's raising. Let's see, what is his limp percentage? Just in general, what does he limp? Oh, 2%. He hardly ever, he probably only limps with aces and kings in order to limp raise. Something like that, you know, if he only limps 2% of the time. Yeah, so I think all these hands, if he's coming in, he's going to raise with them. 6-5 might be, 7-6 could be the bottom, but I'm going to give him 6-5, and we'll cap it, not cap it, but cut it off at 9-7, being the weakest gapper, the weakest king, weakest queen is queen 9, 9-7, and then all the offsuit broadways, and one extra ace with ace-9 offsuit. Okay, I'm pretty comfortable with this range. Why does that keep happening? Control-Alt-T. Oh, 25%, 330 combos. Cool beans. So, what happens? We decide to just call. Now, we are calling here knowing that there's two players yet to act. But if you look at them, this guy, MKKKKKKKK, only 3-bets 3%. From the big blind, only 3% 3-betting. So I'm not worried about getting pushed off of my hand right here. I'm probably calling with a pretty wide suited connector, suited gapper, suited aces, small to medium pocket pair kind of a range, because I'm not worried about getting blown out by a 3-bet squeeze from these two players. So I'm just going to give myself a decent suited connector. 9-8 suited is what we'll say. And TexasGundy calls, loose passive player. That's great. I am in position, 3-way pot versus a loose passive and a loose aggressive player. But I am in position, so that bodes well here. Flop comes king, deuce. Oh, so first off, if I do have a suited connector, I've got 39 or 40% equity. What if it's slightly bigger? 10-9? 40% equity. What about even better? Jack 10, 42% equity. Yeah, but we'll stick with the 9-8. I think that was the first thing. Yeah, 40% equity if we do have the 9-8. So flop comes king, deuce, 5, club, spade, heart. So on that board, you can see our opponent has a ton of top pair possibilities, a ton of overcards, lots of, or every single set in their range right here, even the set of kings, and the over pair with the aces. Plenty of good stuff in this range, but as you can see, even though there's plenty of good stuff, there's still a ton of stuff that missed. You know, all the 6s through queens are an underpair here. All of these suited connectors, well, 6-5 hit a pair, sure, but 7-6 all the way up through queen jack, all of these didn't hit anything. The offsuit hands, unless that has a king, they didn't hit anything. Plenty of ace-high stuff in the range, but really hitting the flop only 25% of the time, which is a top pair, open-ender, and these combo draws aren't even in the range, of course, because the board's not wet enough. So things are looking really good right now. He didn't hit this range particularly hard, so we have position. It's probably a good opportunity to do some stealing. We get a check. BigtheBig decides to c-bet exactly half pot. We can see he c-bet 70% of the time. And then I just call. Now, this could be just a call just to float the flop in order to take it away once he checks on a future street. And then TexasGundy folds. Okay, so what is BigtheBig c-betting here? Sets, totally c-betting, just trying to get value out of us. Two pairs would be, but there aren't any. Over pairs now, sure, the aces. Why wouldn't they c-bet? Top pair hands. All of those kings are going to c-bet here. They're not super happy about getting called. The king 7, the king 8, the king 9, you know, they're not stoked about it, but they still have a top pair hand. I do probably have plenty of under pairs, like 9s, 8s, 7s, and 6s that can call for one street, hoping he didn't hit a king. So he's getting plenty of value out of his top pair hands. And then, of course, I'll just keep it here. The ace king, you can see king, queen, king, jack. If he has those, he's getting plenty of value for my weaker kings, my king 9, king 8, king 7, that kind of stuff that could be in my range. So I would value bet if I were him with the top pairs. Pocket pair below? Sure, why not? It's a king high board. He might as well throw out at least the one c-bet. As we know, he c-bets 70% of the time. He might as well throw it out once, just hoping to get me to fold, and then maybe getting him to call with a 5 or do some kind of a weaker hand that his second pocket pair, is getting value out of. Mid pairs now, just those weak 5s. He c-bets 70% of the time, but that doesn't mean he needs to turn that into a bluff. He could just check. I mean, 6-5 suited, sure, as a pair plus possibly a backdoor. Ace-5, one overcard plus a weak pair. He might bet those one street, so we'll keep them in. These weak pairs, let's say they're not betting. Ace highs, not necessarily. We might include some ace highs down here, but I don't want to say just straight ace high is going to be betting here on the king high flop out of position with, I mean, I consider myself a solid player. I don't know what he thinks of me, but, I mean, my stats probably look pretty taggish, tight aggressive for the most part, probably 21-12. His stats on me are probably somewhere closer to like 21, I don't know, 21-6, 21-15, maybe something like that. So he probably sees me as a tight, aggressive player. I think the weak pairs are checking. Ace high's possibly betting, but I'm going to put him in down here. Doesn't have any open enders. The gut shot, totally. Those are betting right there. I like those. The 2-card backdoor flushes now. I like those betting because I get the sense that he does, when he's bluffing, I get the sense that he uses some semi-bluffing power. So he has bluffing hands in his range that still have equity. He's not just bluffing what is it, like 9-6 offsuit here. Like, he's not throwing out bluffs with hands without any equity. He has some kind of equity in his bluffs. So possibly 2-card backdoor flushes are in that range. But we can actually go through and we can remove some of these. The 7-6 also has a backdoor straight. The 8-7, no. 9-7, no. 10-8, no. 10-9, no. Jack-9, that has a backdoor straight draw as well. Queen-9, everything here or better has some kind of backdoor straight draw as well. So let's limit some of his backdoor flushes at least. Ace, I mean, they're ace high. They have an overcard plus the backdoor flush. Yeah, let's keep all of these in for now. We'll see what happens on the next street. So we're saying that he c-bets 56% of the time, or 56% of his flop range, we can say, in this instance. 157 hands, 56%. So if we do have a hand now, I mean, our hand is crap, 9-8 suited on this board. We have no business being in other than calling him in order to steal it later on. So we're just floating, possibly just floating here with the 9-8. We call TexasGundy, as we saw, folds already. TexasGundy, look at that. He only needed 20% equity at this time. He should be calling with a really wide range. Gut shots and backdoor draws, any kind of pair he should be calling, especially knowing that he's a loose passive player. Now, I don't mean should be calling as in that's a good play. I mean, based on his player type, loose passive, he should be calling. But he didn't call, which means he has absolutely nothing. He probably has like a Jack 4, Jack 4 suited or something like that of diamonds, Ace, ooh, ace of diamonds comes. Lovely card. So on this ace, you could see that he had plenty of aces in his range still. If we look at the ace highs right there, oh, let's look at that. 27 combos is ace high current. This is on the flop. 27 combos out of 157 was in his range. So was that close to 31/5? Just under 20% of his range hits this ace right now. Ace of diamonds. So on this board, yeah, don't worry about this. We have tiny bit equity if we do have this kind of hand. But only 20% of his range hit this ace right now. So if he did have any of those backdoor flush draws, he didn't improve to a flush draw. Only 20% of the time he hits this ace now. Sure, his queen jacks might hit a gut shot now, or jack 10 or queen 10. But really, that ace doesn't help his range all that much at all. So it's not a surprise when he checks there. Now, in this instance, I don't know what was going through my head at this time. I really think this is a great turn to bet. I should have bet 250 here. I just really, especially if I was calling on the flop with intent to steal once he checks, that's what I should have done. I mean, maybe I do just have some kind of like a weak king or even an under pair, like 8s or 9s. I don't see that out of the realm of possibility right now and just checking behind to keep the pot small. But I really think I should bluff at this with almost 100% of my range right here. I should be betting for value with all my aces, with all my kings I should be betting, and I should be betting his bluffs with all my bluffs. I think this is a great spot to blow him off the hand. I think by checking behind, I'm letting him catch possibly something worth calling. What if a 10 or a jack comes on the river and I do have 8s or 9s? Well, now my 8s or 9s are going to lose, whereas if he does have a 10 or a jack, he's probably folding most of the time on the turn ace right here. So what happens? Check, check. So we both check. Before the river, what is he checking on this board? He obviously would want to get value out of me. I have a full stack behind, $5 in the pot right now. If he had a straight, he's betting. If he had a set, he's betting. If he had 2 pair, I don't know, ace, king, ace, 5, ace, deuce, of course they're betting. Top pairs, all of those aces gotta be betting now. He bet on a semi-bluff or just a straight bluff on the flop. Now he hit top pair, he's gotta bet for value. I mean, yeah, maybe I called with an ace, and if he has ace 6, maybe I have ace 9 to beat him right now. But I really think he's betting his top pairs. Middle pairs now. Now on the ace, I can see those possibly checking. Let's keep the middle pairs now in his check range, trying to keep the pot small. Weak pairs, totally checking, just planning on check folding on the ace. No made hands, yeah, sure, why not check? It's not like he has to bluff them off. And the gut shots, sure, why not check those as well? So he's actually checking a pretty big part of his range, 70% of his flop range, 104 combos. 70%, 104 combos, gravy. So if that is his checking range, which we took out just the best parts of his range right now for sure. Interesting. See, okay. Now this is something to notice when you're actually going through and doing this practice, right? Normally, okay, let me deselect this. I don't know how to explain it. So in the flop range, there are 12 possible sets on this turn card. You know, kings, fives, and deuces actually are as possible. Oh, aces too, because he had the overpairs. So aces, kings, fives, and deuces, right? So, but if I do not select it as part of the filter, when I highlight this, the combos go down to from 12 to 0. Well, what's interesting, the top pairs went down as well, but the two pairs went down to 0, but the top pairs are still at 6 combos, and that's because these hands, while they are a top pair, they're also a gut shot. So when you highlight this and all the unselected ones, if anything does not go to 0, you have to find where those are and take them out of the filter as well. So before we highlight that, we need to right click on the gut shot and then take these out of the range. Sure, these gut shots are checking on the turn, but these ones are going to be betting because they have the gut shot plus the top pair, plenty of equity, worth betting for value. Hopefully he could get me to call with 8s and 9s that I don't believe that he hit the ace right there. You know, so he would be betting with those. So now once we hit accept, those hands are filtered out of the gut shot. And now once we hit this, bam, now the top pairs are down to 0. So that's one of the things that you need to be looking for when you select your filter to end the street and to finalize the combos that he has. Make sure that everything not selected is 0. This is something I just learned recently, and it just makes your hand reading better, more accurate. Because if you didn't select that on the river, you know, if another ace came, now he has trips in his range where he shouldn't have them because we say that he doesn't have the top pairs. So that is a little something to notice there. 98, 66 combos from the prior range. 66%, 98 combos. Oh, whoops, no. My bad. Wrong street. There we go. So it was 66%, 98 combos. Cool. Now then, if we do have the 9-8, we currently have 6% versus this range that we put them on here. Things are not looking good for 9-8 suited. If we had the 9-8, that's the perfect turn to be bluffing. The perfect turn to bluff on. An offsuit ace, for sure, because he doesn't have any 3-4s in his range, raising pre-flop. The 5 of clubs comes. What does it do to the equities? Pairs the board right there. Don't worry about this for now. With this turn range, he has 97% if we do have just the 9-8 right there. The 5 doesn't help anybody for anything. Sure, maybe I have some 5s in my range that I call the flop and check behind the turn. But let's see what the action is. 5 hits. He checks again. This is, now, I guess you could consider this a delayed turn bluff, which I should have made it on the turn. But yeah, this could be a delayed bet. This could actually be like a random 5 that I called the flop with, and now I just hit trips. I'm trying to get some value out of a weak king, out of an underpair queens, jacks, or 10s that he might, because I checked the turn, I might be getting value out of him here. He just called. So actually, let's think about this. Before we make the bet, let's say I'm going for value here. What hands are calling my value bet? So the 3 of a kind is not actually calling. I'm losing value. He's going to raise me with this. He's check raising with those. 2 pair. Those top pairs are not calling. All these mid pairs, I believe all of these will be calling. So out of the 97 combos on the turn, middle pairs are calling. Weak pairs, yep, those are all calling as well, because I displayed weakness by checking behind and not those. So out of the 97 combos, I'm actually getting 79 hands to call my bet if I do have trip 5s. I'm getting value quite a bit from this. Now, out of those 97 hands, if I'm betting for value with a 5, the only thing that could possibly beat me are like a better 5, which actually is only a 6-5. The only thing, I mean, 6-5 we chop. Actually, no. There's nothing that he has in his range right now that is better than me if I have trips. If I have trips, nothing better. This is just a straight value bet. Or it could be a bluff as well. Yeah, so really, I mean, if you think about it, if I'm betting for value here, I'm getting value out of 79% of his turn range. I'm getting value 81% of the time. If I did just now hit trips, or if I have a good top pair, like the ace I decided to slow play to slow him down. The range I'm getting value from on this river pair card right there, which was, I don't remember the percentage, 81% and 79 combos. So 81% of the time, I'm getting value from this river bet. 5, oh, lovely. And a king 10, great. So king 10 offsuit, I hope that, yes, finally it's in his range. We gave him that middle pair. It's the perfect card to get value out of. I bet if I would have bet the turn, as a straight bluff, if I would have bet, he possibly would have called with the king. You know, yeah, I think he could have check called with a king. But it would have been a bluff just gone wrong, and then I would have gotten lucky on the river. But as it played out, you know, I like the way I played the hand. I called on the flop with some equity, backdoor flush draw, not a backdoor straight, but a pair plus a backdoor flush draw. The turn was a great opportunity to bluff. I didn't, but then by doing so, I think I got some pretty good value on that river by not bluffing the turn. You know, ended up going well right there. But yes, finally, out of 4 times hand reading the villain, finally we were correct on the 4th try right here. We're gonna do one, let's see, what was this, day 45? Next one in day 46, I am going to hand read the villain again. Let's see if we can put our streak up to 2 successful hand readings of the villain. Alrighty, y'all, thank you very much. I think we learned some pretty good stuff today, especially about double checking all this and making sure that once you filter it, all these non-filtered hand strengths have 0 over there in the combo count. Alrighty, y'all, thank you very much. Oh, Jimmy Gadel. This one is interesting. Thank you very much, Jimmy, for that comment on the Twitch channel here. Alrighty, y'all, take care, and I'll see you on day 46.